Right. Hello, Sudha. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bola, for inviting me to this platform. I'm really excited to be here today.
Now, I know I gave such a long introduction to your many hats that you wear in the beginning, and I know that this is a recorded session. But I do want to say that it was such a pleasure being invited and a privilege to the Elephant in the Room podcast that I participated in some time ago. It's intriguing to see how podcast is really going out, and I in the world these days.
I agree with you. Thank you, Bola. I was really delighted. It was exceptional to have you as a guest on the Elephant in the Room podcast. The work that you do is incredible and it is much needed across the world. And so it's for me at the Elephant in the Room, it was important to highlight what you're doing and how you're trying to do it.
Thank you so much. And I have to say it's a privilege because I know how extremely important you are, the time you give on the judging panel as well. And of course, in order for us to progress and advance in what we're doing, the opportunity to have you on board to discuss some of the ways that we can progress and do better. So without too much of your time, can I just say, can we start with a snapshot? Let's start with what do we actually mean by branding and pitching? What can we expect from you in the 15 minutes time that we're going to spend with you on this recording?
So, Bola, today we're going to talk about branding and why it is important for inventors and innovators to not only think about it, but also to get it right. And the second thing that we are going to cover is what is an elevator pitch? Why is it necessary and how to make an elevator pitch? So, in brief, it is essentially a statement, a short description of the idea or the product or the company that explains what you're trying to do in a persuasive way, in a way that is interesting for the listener and for to get a buy-in. From the branding perspective, I would like all inventors and new product innovators to take a step back when they start thinking about branding and to actually think about why am I doing this, what am I doing, and how do I want to do it. The problem, what problem does my product or service solve for potential customers? Who are my potential customers? These are questions that inventors and innovators need to think much in advance, because we'll come later to what the pitfalls are of not thinking about it. But before you start thinking about brand building, you need to think about, okay, right, here's my product, this is the problem that it solves for people in this category, or a certain population in a different part of the world, or for children or for their moms or for older people. And so that helps, that comes to the essence of why you're doing it. You are doing it because your purpose in this comes through, and you're doing it because you want to solve a problem and you want to make life easier for some people or the other, you know
Right.
uh, through your innovation. And when you specifically talk about a brand, startups and small businesses have big challenges when it comes to branding, because they may have budget constraints, they may not have the resources, they may not have the know-how. But it is a non-negotiable in today's world. If you want to sell a product, you want to grow a business, you want to acquire a new customer, or you want an investor, you really have to think that branding is essential for my product or service to take it to the market. The most important thing when thinking of building a brand is to keep it simple and memorable. Have that emotional connect, which is why people will go and buy your product, because you have connected emotionally with them, not because your product is great or your service is great. There are lots of great products and lots of great services. When people see your brand, which could be a manifestation of your brand, could be a logo, it could be a flyer, it could be an ad, a banner ad on YouTube or on Instagram. When they see the visual identity, it must trigger something in them. And that triggering is it gives them emotional cues, and it wants, it sort of pushes them in the direction of your brand and creates the need in them to go to your brand and see more information, whether about the product or the service. And it engages them in the way that they want to buy the product. So you have to think about, what is my brand promise? Where are you in the marketplace, especially in relation to to competitors? What are they doing there? What is it that you have bought and that they haven't got? What is your price point? uh,
Mm,
who are you selling to? Because you can't be selling to the whole world. You have to have a niche. You have to know your audiences who
mm,
you're targeting the product at. And you have to think in today's world specifically about how to create a great experience for customers. So most of us are living in a virtual world now. So if I'm buying my product online, what is the sort of experience do I have? Is it easy to navigate on your website? If I have a problem, is there a bot that comes up and says, solve my problem? How are you creating an experience that is good and that creates an advocate in that customer who goes back and tells other people that, wow, this is a great product, I love the product, but also my experience was great, so I'm always going to come back and buy there. A good example to consider, when you think of branding, you must think about what my brand purpose is, what my values are, which come from me, what is my positioning statement, then your identity, which could be your logo, which could be your visual color palette, designs, and then how you use in manifestations, like I said, whether it's advertising, it's TV, it's radio, it's flyers, it's sponsorship, it's in-store experience.
yeah.
Yeah. So from a small business and a new product innovator point of view, I think it's very important for them to think of these things if they want to succeed in the marketplace.
Oh, thank you very much for that. I mean, I was sitting here and listening and I was ticking all the boxes that, yes, exactly. But I have to say that there are some inventors who have worked extremely hard and taken years and years to put together a product, an item. And in some cases, they have said, the product speaks for itself. Why must I take the time? Why must someone expect me to take that extra effort? And I heard what you said earlier on, but how do we? I mean, maybe you actually agree with them. Maybe you do feel that the product should sell itself, but I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely, Bola. When I was judging the panel, it was really difficult to say who's not good, because they're all very good, they're all very committed, and they all have great products, right? But great products do not sell themselves. If you look at the marketplace and the world that we live in, we are constantly being sort of, there is a barrage of information and advertising that comes to us from various people about choices that we need to make. You know, if you look for an umbrella, then you'll get 30,000 ads popping up at various places. If you're looking for a car, you'll have. How do you make the decision on which product to choose? Research shows that most of us, like human beings, when you do grocery shopping, 85% of the shopping that you do is the same thing that you have done last time. And we don't tend to change that habit. So where is the place, where is the space for someone who has a new product or service to actually be on the radar and to be on the agenda? And that is why they need to make an effort to sell the product, because the marketplace is cluttered. There are already people trying to sell and push their products. And there have been incredibly big product innovations and revolutionary products that have failed. And one of them was Microsoft Windows Vista, where they put $500 million marketing budget behind it, but it failed because it had no compatibility, there were performance issues, and customers don't want that. If I'm paying for a product, it should work for me. Why should it not work for me? The Segway was another product where they expected to sell 10,000 Segways every month. And now they sold, I think the statistics is 24,000 in 5 years, and they've stopped even considering whether they should sell to consumers. And the reasons for failures are, because you are not thinking of what your consumer wants or needs at this point in time. And like I said in the first, branding issue, have you thought of what problem you're solving, your product or your service is solving, and what is your price point? Is it too high? Is it too low? Um, are you prepared to execute? If you've launched the product and it's got great feedback and people are buying it, but you don't have enough of capability to ramp it up, it can lead to failure. So these are the reasons why people need to think about, the entire process rather than just, creating a product and expecting it to sell off. Nothing is sells itself. Nothing. Everyone needs to make an effort to sell either themselves or their product and service. And so it's important to be differentiate, be authentic, connect emotionally, and be consistent and be ready to scale up.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So can I ask you a specific question as a judge? Because I mean, I'm not a judge, but I do get to see a lot of the nomination forms. And I have found that some of the products and the items that have been put in these nomination forms, they've been kind of undersold. Is this a case of us being brought up as women not to oversell ourselves, not to blow our own trumpet? Um, and I just kind of wanted to have some few tips from you in terms of practical things that people could do when they're actually when they're actually completing the nomination forms in order to ensure that the judges can get a proper feel for what their products really is all about.
Bola, I think you do such an incredible job, with Global Women, on actually helping to bring women and inventors and innovators from across the world, giving them a platform. And what you said is so true that most women suffer from imposter syndrome. They are socialized, since childhood, not to speak up or not to be boastful or not to brag about what they're talking. And if they speak up, they are confident and assertive, they are seen to be aggressive. And most people do not have that confidence. Even leaders, women leaders, do not have that confidence. So first thing they need to do is to believe in themselves, believe in what they're doing, and believe that what they're doing is purposeful and is important, and they're doing great, doing a huge job for our society, because they are women inventors and innovators. They are getting innovation into our world, and it is very, very important. Some of the best innovations are happened by women, and it's not talked about enough. So you do a great, incredible job, and women have a big challenge with this issue. And what I'd say, from your criteria that you have in the judging criteria, I think it's quite stringent. So our expectation is that women are coming to it from a position of confidence, and that they are selling, and so they'll be able to meet all the criteria. But like we discussed, they're not coming from a position where they believe in everything that they're doing. There are so many people who are pulling them back. There's so many naysayers. So it becomes difficult for them to actually communicate their potential, either in writing, or when they are pitching it to us. But the criteria, I think, are really, really stringent. And what I look at most of the time is not just their confidence. It is about what the product does, what problem does it solve, and then the marketability. I think these two things are very, very important for me as a judge.
Right. Thank you very much for that insight, because now we need to know how to ensure that we get over the confidence issues. And one of the key things that's actually happening now, and I see a lot of, is there's a uprise in coaches out there coaching people, getting people to learn how to, you know, bring their voice and promote themselves because of how they're perceived. But I'm still going to allow other people to ask you questions. But before you do go, can I ask you about pitching? It was the first time that we were going to have our first pitching session for Global Win using Zoom, and I happened to see some of the women. Some came, of course, very confident, and they only had 2 minutes. Um, what advice would you give to the women? And of course, we did have some men with us in terms of how to put together a winning pitch.
So from my, we in the first question I responded on what a pitch is, and from my experience, why pitches fail are because they're too long. People spend too much time on focusing it either on themselves or the process, and there are never any actionable takeaways or specific points, and they don't put enough of attention grabbing facts in it. And pitching, you have to understand, is a skill. It's, as an innovator and an inventor, you're not taught, you may be a graduate and you may be an engineer, but you're not taught how to sell your product or your service. You're taught your technical skills. And so I think that should be an essential part of all educational programs on how to, sell an idea, how to sell a thought, because that is what is the impediment between a great product and its success. Our ability to pitch it naturally in an attention grabbing fashion and in a way that the listener finds it interesting and is invested in it. So whether it's the customer or the investor or a judge like me, I should in the first 30 seconds be interested in it. Because if you've not gotten my interest in the first 10 seconds, actually you have lost my interest. That is how it works. That is how tough it is. But then it's also very simple. Do not make it too, what do you say, complicated. So you need to focus on saying who you are, what do you offer, what problem do you solve, what is different about you, and probably add a rhetorical question in it to which you can respond and say how you're solving that problem. And at the end, always have a call to action. So what do you want people to do? What happens because of your product or service? And make it memorable. It won't happen, they won't get it right the first time, they won't get it right the second time. You and I have been speaking for 30 years and we are still mastering our skills, right? So you need to practice, 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 and have a long pitch and have a short pitch depending on the time. So most of our what do you say, inventors and innovators, I think, did not think too much about the time that they had, so they were not able to allocate the information proportionally. So some parts got more time than the other parts, and so they missed out telling some very important facts to us. So I'd say, consider all these things: who you are, what you do, the problem you solve, and the call to action, and practice it. Have a long pitch, have a short pitch, and practice, practice, practice. That is what is going to help you with it.
Oh, thank you so very much. I mean, I had quite a number of the women saying, oh, it's so expensive to put my branding together and to do a pitch. I need, so much to be done and everything. And it's so good to be able to hear that practice, practice, practice could be the answer to what we're looking for. And it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. So thank you so much for that.
Bola, can I just make one interjection before you go? Is that, when people talk about branding, you don't have to go to a brand consultant. In today's world, you have free tools, free technology stacks where you can go and practice. Go to Canva, Canva, and build your brand there. You can do everything over there. Have a simple brand, a complicated brand. The tools exist. You just need to go there and access the tools.
Thank you so much. That sounds very encouraging. Is there any last thing that you'd like to say before I open it up and allow others to ask you questions? I know this is pre-recorded, but I'm pleased that you will be with us on the very day, which is the 27th of May. And hopefully people who are watching this will see and have the opportunity to speak to you directly. Yes.
The last thing that I'd like to say is that this is Global Win provides women with a fantastic platform. They need to take advantage of the opportunities, the learnings from this platform, and really try their best to take the fantastic products and services that they have developed to market with the learnings that they have from here.
Thank you so very much, Sudha. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Bola.